we have a few other presentations, and we couldn't have everybody on the same day. So y'all were the largest team, so y'all get tomorrow, so y'all can brag at school tomorrow that tomorrow's your day. If you need to take your proclamation around, it's your get out of jail free card, okay? But seriously, congratulations. We're so proud of y'all. The two seniors, one of the two seniors, give me a 2-minute overview of, something. Here we go. Just, on behalf of the team.
I wasn't prepared for this, but on behalf of the team, I just want to say thank you to the entire community that came behind us, not only this year, but also last year. I know everybody who was on the team last year. My junior year was such a disappointment. We worked so hard and we put in so much effort and energy and time and focus into a team, and we didn't get the results that we wanted, so we put 10 times that effort this year, and we decided, this is our year. We called it our comeback season, and we said that this is the year that we were going to win it all, and so we gave 110% in everything that we did. And I love these girls with my whole heart, and I'm so thankful.
That's like a public speaking. The fantastic job, ladies. If you don't mind, we're going to get a quick picture with all of our council included. You know what? I'll just pass out proclamations just so that way y'all can be holding on to one. It's not yours. Right here, I'll help y'all. If y'all help me hand those out, please. There we go. There you go. There's some in here. Somebody missing one? We good? I'll hold one too. You got your own?
I got 3.
Okay. Y'all come around here. All right, we're going to get a photo. All our council members are with us too. So, Kelly, tell us what you need us to do.
I need girls to get cozy and push in a little bit.
There we go.
All right, back row, make sure you are looking between shoulders so I can see your face. Hey, got everybody? Good. All right, big smiles. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. One more. Got it.
All right, thank you. Just pass that out. All right, now the CA cheerleading team doesn't get to leave yet because we're about to honor another CA team. So surely the cheer team would want to stay for that. All right, the Columbia Academy girls cross country team. We have some representatives from here that we have some have to leave. Come on up. Yeah. Another large crew here. All right, also very impressive situation that we have on our hands here. Also maybe some history that was made. Brady Henson's the last one to show. What else is new? If you ever need to find Brady Henson, just look at him during the rush hour running in the middle of the road and you know that he's there. This is another team that I'm really proud of because I know some of you, and particularly your coaches as well. And, like I told the cheer team, it's when you do good things in our community, we want to bring recognition to that and recognize your good work and your accomplishments. Because if you're not getting recognized here at home, where are you going to get recognized? And I'll go back to the point about having some pride in Columbia. How many seniors do we have on this one? Just we got a few. So one thing I always tell the seniors is whether or not you come back to Columbia or not one day, I came back. You might not come back, but hopefully you'll always love Columbia and what it meant to you during your time here and have some pride in where you came from. And we're glad you're here tonight. So now I have a proclamation for y'all, which unfortunately y'all's day has to be Saturday. However, normally, runners and cross country and track folks, y'all are competing on Saturday. So who knows, maybe there's a time. But here's the proclamation for the 2024-2025 Columbia Academy Girls High School Cross Country Team. Whereas the 24-25 Columbia Academy Girls High School Cross Country Team, coached by Brady Henson, and assistant coaches Ashley Miller, Nathan Miller, and Dr. David Craig in the back there, I see, are to be recognized and commended for their outstanding season. The 2024 Columbia Academy Girls Cross Country Team won its first ever state title under the guidance and leadership of these coaches and the talent of these athletes. First ever. So once again, we have a trailblazing situation. Whereas Gracie Orton, Presley Millard, Janie Reams, Charlie Hutchison, Emma Reese, Keely Reams, and Mackenzie Reams made it up the top 7 and were supported by fellow teammates Emma Bookout, Braylon Henry, Aniston Barker, Ella Buckley, Lakin Haley, Ava Buckley, and Jay Massey. The Columbia Academy girls cross country team won this championship by a 15-point margin of victory with a combined time of 20:36. Which, what does that mean? Combined time of That's very impressive. So that's looking at a pretty quick mile, under 7-minute mile. Very impressive. The Columbia Academy girls cross country team and coaches have brought positive recognition to the Columbia Academy, the city of Columbia, and Murray County. And I mean that, ladies. You're wearing that Columbia Academy track uniform. You're wearing your school. You're also wearing your community. And so thank you for representing us so well. They show professionalism, commitment, sportsmanship, determination, and dedication. The city wishes to thank and recognize the entire cross-country team, their coaches, support staff, including Dr. Thomas, Fresnel Knox, and Assistant Athletic Director Carrie Robinson, their outstanding 24-25 cross-country season. Now I, Chaz Mulder, Mayor of the City of Columbia, declare Columbia Academy Girls Cross Country Team Day on April 12, 2025. Congratulations. Pass these out. They'll be figure out who's who for the thank y'all so much. Congratulations. So awesome. Oh, perfect. She's now if that was yours, that would really be good. But that is that yours? No. All right, are we good? Squish in again. All right, we're gonna squish in. I don't have one. That's all right. We're gonna we got it. There we go. You know what we'll do? We'll open it up. I'm an old pro.
Ready? All right, here we go. Wow, big 1, 2, 3.
All right. Congratulations again.
We'll have to get a step through for this next bunch.
They even got me on this.
Yeah.
My grandson, my youngest grandson, Bud,
Really? Pretty good. Trying to clean it up real playing baseball. I wish he could stay in there. He got burned out. Good at travel ball, but he's played so much ball. But he's a natural. All the other kids had to work at it. He's a natural. Maybe he'll come back around.
All right. Saving the best for last. Maybe or no, I don't know. Coming up, Columbia State. And I'm gonna also ask for the administration to come up as well. We also, y'all don't bring the average age down as much, but y'all are definitely bringing the average height up.
Ain't no way Kenny can.
Mayor? 6'8". See, I know. I like to try myself to the top.
Mayor, I've never felt short, Mayor, in my life.
Now, Chris used to be a baller. Yeah. I heard Chris Martin used to be a baller.
Oh.
What are you going to do, Kenny? You want me standing? Can I get on your shoulders? You squat.
All right, well, we want to give recognition to this team. And, you know, I was really torn on my colors to wear today. I was trying to, so I ended up deciding to just be Switzerland and go with nobody's colors. But really and truly, I only wear my green on Wednesdays because that's when Chargers wear green. But we are once again in a situation where we have a team that has done great things, that has the name Columbia on their jersey. And Columbia State Community College, I just want you fellas and ladies to hear from me that anytime I have a chance to talk to our community and I talk about what our major assets are, I always talk about 3 or 4 things. Number one, I always talk about the Polk home, how fortunate we are to have the James K. Polk home here. Number 2, I always talk about the Tennessee Farm Bureau and the fact that it's the state headquarters of the State Farm Bureau. Number 3, I always talk about Murray Regional Medical Center and how lucky we are to have such a sophisticated medical institution in Columbia. And number 4, I always talk about how lucky we are to have Columbia State Community College, the state's first community college in the state of Tennessee, and how much that college means to this city, how much we support that college and want it to thrive, especially bring attention to good things that are happening, which we have tonight. I think this may be the first time that I can remember having a Columbia State contingency getting a proclamation, and so we may be trailblazing there. We've got the former vice mayor here who served for 100 years and 2 Sundays, and she never got y'all up here. But the vice mayor now, and also, by the way, there's a rule that if you're a former vice mayor, you can't leave after this. You got to sit. You got to sit through all that. No, we don't need to hear about meetings. She always has meetings. She didn't think she was going to be sitting through that public hearing. But I do have a proclamation, fellas, that I would like to read for y'all as well. Maybe not everybody knows some of your successes. I think that as a community, one thing we can do better is making sure that we rally more support behind the Chargers and going to watch games and seeing you boys hoop, because you boys can hoop and it's fun to watch. But the people that are here tonight are going to know about the Chargers, and the people that are watching that probably have a lot of people watching right now. If you didn't recognize, there's a little bit of a controversial issue on the agenda tonight. You're going to have a lot of viewership that are going to be hearing about Columbia State Chargers and the basketball team and the good work that it did. So with that said, the 2024-2025 Columbia State Community College men's basketball team, coached by Winston Neal and assistant coaches Chris Leggett, Arthur Latham, Tony Sparkman, and Larry Jones, are to be recognized and commended for their outstanding season. The 2024 Columbia State Chargers strengthened their position at the top of the PCCAA standing with an assertive victory over Chattanooga State Tigers in front of an invigorating home crowd. With the win, the Chargers improved to 16-2 overall and 7-1 in their conference, defending the first place tie in the conference standing. Coach Neal and assistant coaches Liggett, Latham, Sparkman, and Jones led the Chargers, along with the players, to an impressive 27-5 record this season, capping off an outstanding run with a trip to the national tournament for the NJCAA. Coach Neal's leadership and dedication have been influential in the team's success, as he recently completed his 10th season heading up the Chargers program. The Chargers basketball program and Coach Neal received a reputable honor, as Coach Winston Neal was named the Appalachian District Coach of the Year for the outstanding season for the NJCAA Division I men's basketball tournament. The City of Columbia wishes to thank and recognize the entire team for their outstanding work, and we're going to give y'all Sunday, April 23rd, 2025, as your day. And before we clap and take a photo, I do want to go down the list of the names of some of these players. I used to be the PA announcer at Central High School until I got fired, but I used to like to really get loud in the starting lineup and maybe give a little hype to it. If we get the Bulls theme song playing, we'll do it really good. But the players' names, I might butcher your name. If so, I apologize. That might be why I got fired from the old job. 0, Josiah Super. 1, Alex Pollard. 2, Kenneth Ellis. Number 3, Jared Taylor. Number 4, Arnez Anderson. Number 5, Mackie Wright. Number 9, Ron Brispin. Number 10, Thaddeus Johnson. Number 11, help me out, number 11. All right. I wasn't about to try that one. I like it, though. That's the 6'8" in the back. I like it. Number 14, Julius Sisk. Number 15, Emmanuel Allen. Number 20, Tavon Comage. Number 22, Simeon Williams. Number 23, Terrell Reeves. Number 24, Jamison Glass. And then, of course, we have our head coach, Winston Neal, assisted by Chris Leggett, Arthur Latham, Tony Sparkman, Larry Jones, and athletic director Katie Willingham, who we're also glad to have here this evening, and all that she's doing across all athletics at Columbia State. But now that we know that their day is Sunday, April 13th, 2025, let's give them a round of applause. And I believe we also have, is there somebody else? Oh, we have our vice president here as well from the college. I'm going to give the floor to you to just say a couple words on behalf of the college.
These are such a good group of guys, and they're so fun to watch. How they committed to each other. And it's been absolutely.
I'm going to go down the line. Y'all tell me where you're from. I'm from Columbia?
Nashville.
Nashville.
All right, very good. See, that's the other thing is that it brings people from all over here. So again, congratulations, guys. I'm going to give you these proclamations, and we're going to hold on to them for a photo. And y'all's day is Sunday, so if you get in trouble, just show me your proclamation.
I'm just gonna stand.
And probably won't do any good if you try.
Oh, we got a name.
Yeah, y'all can just give them out when you get.
Are you Trevor?
I'm going to get here next to you, all right?
Let me get that one ready.
There we go. Yeah, and you got to take. You got to hold them up right. You got them upside down. You got to get the seal, right? There you go. All right, we're going to scoot in, fellas.
I don't like how they see me.
Hey, Randy, why don't you get in the front?
This is the first time I'm in the front.
Get Randy in the front.
I'm never in the front.
Here, I get in the front. I'm not
Yeah.
scared. I'm not blocking you, am I?
Put your zoom lens on.
All right. Fellas, congratulations.
That's your name. That's your name.
Sim, right here. Sim. There go yours.
I'll take these.
Chuck, yours, maybe.
Who's that right there?
This ain't you, bro.
Foundation meeting started at 5:30. Seriously.
All right, we are now back on the agenda to organizational business. Item 6.1, approve the minutes of the March 13, 2025 City Council meeting. It's been moved properly. Is there a second? Properly seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. We still have quorum. We can still continue to vote, and they'll be back. And this is just on the approval of the minutes. We have a motion. We have a properly second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Jablonski.
Ms. Hardison, Mr. Huffman, Mr. Marshall, Mr. McKelvey, Ms. Sechrist, Vice Mayor McBroom, Mayor Mulder.
Aye. Section 6.1 is approved. I will maybe try to give it a second on the two that we've got missing, just since it's the consent agenda, which is a large 12-item agenda. No problem. We'll give Ms. Sechrist just another minute or so she can be here as well. All right. Back on the agenda now, section 7, the consent agenda. These are items that have been deemed non-controversial, needing no further discussion or debate. That we did also speak on many of them at the study session last week. If anyone wants to take an item out of this consent agenda, please advise prior to the motion. 7.1, approved disbursements for the month of February 2025 in the amount of $6,516,628.22. Item 7.2, approve bid award and authorize the mayor to execute the contract with Blue Link Outfitters for police uniforms and duty equipment. Item 7.3, approve and authorize the City of Columbia to revise the current fee structure with Mutual of Omaha to include comprehensive services for employee assistance program services with an estimated cost of $3,213.48 per year. Item 7.4, approve and authorize the mayor to sign a contract in the amount of $50,000 between the City of Columbia and Kimley Horn and Associates for professional services for an East Columbia small area plan. This is Ward 3. Item 7.5, approve bid award and execution of contract with Nitchell Contracting for the South Main Street and 8th Street roundabout project in the amount of $701,276.50. Item 7.6, approve the 2025 annual software assurance and support services provided by the Davenport Group for llama permitting software in the amount of $37,716.38. Item 7.7, ratify the approval of contract between City of Columbia and MSD Environmental Services for the rental of a trailer-mounted belt press in the amount of $13,500 per month for 36 months. 7.8, approve and authorize the mayor to sign the contract between the City of Columbia and Hawkins and Price LLC for the construction of Carter's Creek Force Main relocation in the amount of $489,755. Item 7.9, approve reimbursement amount of $324,000 to SDH Nashville LLC for partial surety release for Baker Creek Place. Item 7.10, approve and authorize the mayor to execute a contract with Novatech for a 36-month lease of a Konica Minolta copier in the amount of $3,333 annually using Sourcewell contract. Item 7.11, approve and authorize the mayor to sign the non-exclusive use and occupancy permit between the City of Columbia and the Smyrna Adult Softball League, formerly known as the Murray County Co-ed Softball League. And item 7.12, approve and authorize the mayor to sign a contract between the City of Columbia, Tangram Design LLC, and Jarvis Signs in the amount of $75,328 for professional services. That's your consent agenda, items 7.1 through 7.12. Motion's been made by Councilmember Marshall, properly seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Jablonski.
Ms. Hardison, Mr. Huffman,
Aye.
Mr. Marshall,
Aye.
Mr. McKelvey,
Aye.
Ms. Sechrist, Vice Mayor McBroom, Mayor Mulver.
Aye, the consent agenda is approved and adopted. Next item, administration. Item 8.1, request from Nilesh Patel for an extension of his certificate of compliance for 2479 Nashville Highway. Do we have anyone that signed up to speak on this item? I don't see that we do. Okay, we heard on this on study session. Mr. Massey, do you want to quickly refresh recollection?
Be happy to. Council, as we discussed last week during the study session, as you referenced, Mr. Patel was awarded a year ago tomorrow a liquor license for the City of Columbia. However, as our ordinance specify, he has to be within operation within 12 months after the award by council. Obviously, that is not the case, since from everything we can indicate, he has not even begun construction on his building. Mr. Patel asked for a 3-month extension on that, as is in the ordinance. It's the council's discretion whether to grant that or not. However, staff is recommending that you don't, because 3 months from now, he still will not be in operation. He hasn't even begun construction on his building yet.
And Mr. Massey, I think you also mentioned this last week. If we do not grant this extension, then basically we have a situation where we have the potential for another round process of someone to submit a certificate, but that's not something that we yet have on the pike, and in fact probably better to wait until after the special census anyway.
I would recommend waiting, yes, sir.
Okay, which we believe is probably going to be sometime before the end of May at this point, so we've got some time to wait. Okay, well, with that explanation from Mr. Massey, I would make the motion to deny the request under item 8.1. It's been seconded. Any discussion on that item? Hearing none, Mr. Jablonski.
Ms. Hardison,
Question. So am I saying yes or no to deny?
I'm sorry, that is a good question. My motion is to deny the request for an extension.
Ms.
Aye.
Hardison. Mr. Huffman.
Aye.
Mr. Marshall.
Aye.
Mr. McKelvey.
Aye.
Ms. Seacrest.
Aye.
Vice Mayor McBroom. Mayor Mulder.
Aye. That request is denied. Next section, resolutions. Item 9.1, Resolution 2522 to accept ownership and maintenance of sewer improvements servicing Rock Springs Road.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Jablonski.
Ms. Hardison.
Aye.
Mr. Huffman.
Aye.
Mr. Marshall.
Aye.
Mr. McKelvey.
Aye.
Ms. Seacrest.
Aye.
Vice Mayor McBroom. Mayor Mulder.
Aye, that item is approved. Next item, 9.2, resolution number 2523, a resolution to accept ownership and maintenance of sewer improvements serving Bear Springs Phase 1A.
So moved. Second.
Moved and properly seconded. Any discussion on item 9.2? Hearing none, Mr. Jablonski.
Ms. Hardison.
Aye.
Mr. Huffman.
Aye.
Mr. Marshall.
Aye.
Mr. McKelvey.
Aye.
Ms. Seacrest.
Aye.
Vice Mayor McBroom. Mayor Mulder.
Aye, that item is approved. Next item is 9.3, resolution number 2524, a resolution adopting Columbia 25 through 28 as the annual strategic plan for the city of Columbia.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion on that item? Hearing none, Mr. Jablonski.
Ms. Hardison.
Aye.
Mr. Huffman.
Aye.
Mr. Marshall.
Aye.
Mr. McKelvey.
Aye.
Ms. Seacrest.
Aye.
Vice Mayor McBroom. Mayor Mulder.
Aye. That item is approved. Next item, 9.4, Resolution 2525, resolution to establish the maximum amount of $75 for the 2025 City of Columbia property tax relief for the elderly, low-income homeowners.
Move to approve. Second.
It's been moved, properly seconded. Item 9.4, any discussion on that item? Hearing none, Mr. Jablonski.
Ms. Hardison.
Aye.
Mr. Huffman.
Aye.
Mr. Marshall.
Aye.
Mr. McKelvey.
Aye.
Ms. Seacrest.
Aye.
Vice Mayor McBroom. Mayor Mulder.
Aye, that item is approved. Next item, 9.5, Resolution 25-26, a resolution authorizing the Daily Herald and Main Street Murray as the official local newspapers for the City of Columbia.
So moved. Second.
Moved and properly seconded. Any discussion on that item? Hearing none, Mr. Jablonski.
Ms. Hardison.
Aye.
Mr. Huffman.
Aye.
Mr. Marshall.
Aye.
Mr. McKelvey.
Aye.
Ms. Seacrest.
Aye.
Vice Mayor McBroom. Mayor Mulder.
Aye, that item is approved. Next item, 9.6, Resolution 2527, a resolution to accept the ownership and maintenance of sewer improvements serving the landings at Greens Mill Road, Phase 1B.
Move to approve. Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Jablonski.
Ms. Hardison.
Aye.
Mr. Huffman.
Aye.
Mr. Marshall.
Aye.
Mr. McKelvey.
Aye.
Ms. Seacrest.
Aye.
Vice Mayor McBroom. Mayor Mulder.
Aye, that item is approved. Next item, 9.7, Resolution 2528, a resolution to accept the ownership and maintenance of sewer improvements serving the landings at Greens Mill Road, Phase 1C.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded properly. Any discussion? Mr. Jablonski.
Ms. Hardison.
Aye.
Mr. Huffman.
Aye.
Mr. Marshall.
Aye.
Mr. McKelvey.
Aye.
Ms. Seacrest.
Aye.
Vice Mayor McBroom. Mayor Mulder.
Aye, that item is approved. Next item, Resolution 2529, tax corrections.
Move to approve. Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Jablonski.
Ms. Hardison.
Aye.
Mr. Huffman.
Aye.
Mr. Marshall.
Aye.
Mr. McKelvey.
Aye.
Ms. Seacrest.
Aye.
Vice Mayor McBroom. Mayor Mulder.
Aye, that item is approved. Next item, Resolution 2530, a resolution to accept the streets and drainage improvements serving Morgan Meadows subdivision Phase 1 for ownership and maintenance.
Move to approve.
Second.
It's been moved. It's been properly seconded. Any discussion on item 9.9? Hearing none, Mr. Jablonski.
Ms. Hardison.
Aye.
Mr. Huffman.
Aye.
Mr. Marshall.
Aye.
Mr. McKelvey.
Aye.
Ms. Seacrest.
Aye.
Vice Mayor McBroom. Mayor Mulder.
Aye, that item is approved. Final item, 910, under this section, Resolution 2531, a resolution requesting TDOT and GNRC prioritization for the widening of Interstate 65 from Interstate 840 to Bear Creek Pike. As we talked about last week, this is something that I've been in discussion with several mayors across Middle Tennessee, including Franklin and Williamson County mayors, as well as Spring Hill officials, and Murray County also is joining in on this. And so with that, I'll make a motion to approve this resolution.
Second.
Been properly seconded by Mr. McKelvey. Any discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Jablonski.
Ms. Hardison,
Aye.
Mr. Huffman,
Aye.
Mr. Marshall,
Aye.
Mr. McKelvey,
Aye.
Ms. Seacrest,
Aye.
Vice Mayor McBroom, Mayor Mulder.
Aye, that resolution is approved. Final section of the evening, Section 10, ordinances, item 10.1, second consideration on ordinance number 4536, an ordinance amending ordinance 4400, the same being the zoning ordinance of the City of Columbia, by repealing Article 4 and replacing Article 4 with new Article 4 building lot and building site standards. Vice Mayor.
This was the one that we were gonna put the buffer in there is in the back? Is that right, Mr. Kelton?
Paul, if you could come forward, please.
Did that get, when we talked about it in study session, when it went to BZA and they're allowing it, they had to buffer it. So is that written in there now, or?
Yes, sir. I believe you're referring to the major home occupation,
Right.
the new addition of that type of use. Under that major home occupation, toward the very end of that section, it discusses that a buffer is required when they are storing equipment and trailers and things of that nature on the side and in the rear of the yard, and that buffer is determined by the Board of Zoning Appeals.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions on item 10.1? Hearing none, we need a motion on that item.
So moved.
Been moved by Councilmember McKelvey.
What are you moving? I should say, move to approve. Move to approve. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Thank you, Mr. City Attorney, for keeping us on our A
Keeping
game.
me straight.
All right, it's been moved to approve properly by Councilmember McKelvey. Was there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Marshall. Actually had the second. We'll give it to him. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Jablonski.
Ms. Hardison,
Aye.
Mr. Huffman,
Aye.
Mr. Marshall,
Aye.
Mr. McKelvey,
Aye.
Ms. Seacrest,
Aye.
Vice Mayor McBroom, Mayor Mulder.
Aye, that item is approved. Next item, 10.2, second consideration of ordinance number 4537, an ordinance amending development services filing fee schedule for the City of Columbia.
Mr. Mayor, I hate to interject again, but if I may, that ordinance does have a mention of some short-term rental fees in there. I don't know that much will change after consideration of 10.4. There is an issue that Mr. Keltner and I talked about that we're going to recommend an amendment on that, but I think it prudent to hear 10.4 and postpone 10.2 until after 10.4, just in case there's some discussion or some amendment to 10.4 that could affect that.
Okay,
in some way. So I think we just need a motion to postpone 10.2 until after 10.4.
So we'll entertain a motion. In fact, I'll make a motion to move item 10.2 to the hill of the docket for this section, which would be after 10.4. Seconded by Councilmember Marshall. Any discussion on that? Hearing none. Mr. Jablonski.
Ms. Hardison,
Aye.
Mr. Huffman, Mr. Marshall,
Aye.
Mr. McKelvey,
Aye.
Ms. Seacrest,
Aye.
Vice Mayor McBroom,
Aye.
Mayor Mulder.
Aye. That motion to move to the hill of the docket is approved. Item 10.3. Second consideration of ordinance 4538, an ordinance amending ordinance 4400, the same being the zoning ordinance of the City of Columbia regarding definitions in Article 9 by replacing such article and replacing it with a new Article 9 definitions. It's been moved
Second.
and properly seconded. I know, Vice Mayor, you had some questions on this last week that I think were good questions that got answered. But I just wanted to also point out that this, is this the one that limits or that might actually be under 10.4, regarding the stores and the limitations on how close they can be together? Paul, is that under, which item is that?
Come forward again, please.
May have messed the item.
Yes, sir. That was a previous item. This is just on the definitions of adding in some of the additional items that you saw in your previous 10.2, as well as updating kennels and also home occupations, adding in that definition for major.
Right.
Tobacco, vape, and cannabinoids definition. That's what this particular section is doing.
Yeah, I meant to make the point on item 10.1 that we were including that basically distance requirement for those vape stores.
Yes.
That we'll hope to maybe limit some of them going forward.
Yes, sir.
All right. Sorry for the false alarm that item. Did you sign up to speak on item 10.3? I did not. Okay, I'm sorry. We're not allowed to have you speak if you didn't sign up to speak. So this, again, is second consideration on ordinance number 4538, an ordinance amending ordinance 4400, the zoning ordinance of the City of Columbia regarding definitions in Article 9 by repealing such article and replacing with the new Article 9. It's been moved. We already had a motion and a second. Any further discussion on item 10.3? Hearing none, Mr. Jablonski.
Ms. Hardison? Mr. Huffman? Mr. Marshall? Mr. McKelvey? Ms. Seegers? Vice Mayor McBroom? Mayor Mulder?
Aye, that item is approved. Final item, 10.4, not final item because we'll have 10.2. But next to final item, second consideration on ordinance number 4541 as amended, an ordinance amending ordinance 4400, the same being the zoning ordinance on the City of Columbia, Tennessee by amending standards for short-term rental use within Article 4 and Article 9. This is the item that we had several speak on at public hearing and which have signed up to speak this evening, which I'll go through if they want to speak again. Steve Napier, now you get to speak for this agenda item, 10.4. You'll have 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. This, ladies and gentlemen, I just would implore you again just to reconsider this regulation about short-term rentals. I have experienced basically staying in short-term rentals are great experiences in a lot of cities across the state of Tennessee. I don't have a dog in this race per se. One thing I would say is that, I'm a law-abiding citizen. I play by the rules. I play by the book. I've got a property that would probably been great to have been able to use this last weekend for Mule Day, for the Mule Day week portion or Mule Day weekend itself. But I don't want to stir the pot. I don't want to fight City Hall, so to speak, and I haven't chosen to before now. But I feel compelled to speak on perhaps a proposed interest and latitude to be able to do that in the future. I believe both things serve a great purpose, short-term and medium-term, and other housing options for people. I think there's growth for everybody concerned. I think there's a place for everybody concerned. I would just like to see that there might be a win-win understanding that would come about, even if it means tabling this motion, deferring this motion. I think, Mayor, you said you may have an amendment to this. Be all ears for that. But I just appreciate your reconsideration and just giving the audience that you've had tonight. And this is such important. I think it has a lot of good attributes for the City of Columbia. I believe in regulating things as need be. But certainly I just, fair play and transparency and cooperation and just trying to come to a win-win, I think is the best option. I appreciate your time and consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Napier. We're glad to have you in City Hall. You're welcome back anytime. All right, Ms. Napier, would you like to speak again? All right. Mr. Gephardt, would you like to speak again? All right. Nicole Nance, or I'm sorry, I mispronounced that name. Nace. Okay, sorry, Ms. Nace. Lawrence Reeves, would you like to speak? He left. Chris Roberts. You good? All right, Bruce Peden. You have the floor for 3 minutes.
I've got hearing aids in both of my ears that cost more than the first two cars I bought put together, and they still don't work, okay? And that's one reason I hesitated. But despite my severe hearing impairment, I thought at the conclusion of the public hearing that I heard the word disinformation lobbed my way, and I take exception to that. The thing I sent you all, emailed it. People in the audience that have copies of it. If you look on page 10, you'll see a screenshot that I made of the city's marketing website where it listed short-term rentals. And in the lower right-hand corner, it lists Lost Zone Garden, which is the property that I made reference to that the mayor has an interest in. On page 11 of that same thing, there's a screenshot where the city's marketing arm posted a post on Facebook promoting the that unit or that short-term rental, and as part of that screenshot, it indicates that it has a super host. It says hosted by Charles. I'm not sure who Charles is, but I have a pretty good idea who that is. So with that said, my 4 questions that I think these folks deserve an answer to is, did the owners of the short-term rentals that the cities were promoting, did they get violation letters? I don't think they did. If not, why not? Is it just incompetence, or is there something going on there? And then why is the zoning ordinance being changed to protect these short-term rentals and to continue or to make them legal? They're just as illegal right this minute as any that's being operated here in this city. Why is it being changed to make these legal and not everyone else legal? How is that fair? And I would ask the council, when it opens up for comments, let's get Mr. Keltner up here and let him answer these questions, or let the city manager, city attorney, anybody, mayor, anybody answer the question.
I would like to have Mr. Keltner come up and explain to Mr. Peden for, again, the reasons as to why the 609 North Garden, as well as the public square, I'm not sure which one it is, owned by Mike Wolf, are not in violation. We're not in violation, have not been in violation, and how this vote tonight is not impacting those short-term rentals. I've explained it to him, but apparently he needs it to be heard from someone else. Mr. Keltner.
Yes, sir. I'm not for sure what more I can add that what I've already tried to address from Mr. Peden on regards to everything that he just mentioned here earlier this week. What I can say is though, in 2017 is when we first started seeing a short-term rental request. 2017, that's in a previous zoning ordinance, 3638. 3638 did not have a reference to short-term rentals. One of the duties of an authority of the zoning administrator is when a use comes about that's not outlined in your ordinance, is to look for the appropriate place to place that use. If there's not an appropriate place, then they are to go to planning commission with the creation of that use, and then let those districts come out from the planning commission and council. The zoning administrator at that time determined that under the subcategory land use accommodations, that by description and by definition within 3638, that was an appropriate place for it to fit. That actually gave you multiple districts that you could have a short-term rental within. There was no limited use standards for a short-term rental in 3638 as there is in 4400 currently today. So majority of the addresses that are being questioned tonight directly were created prior to 4400 and under 3638 and are governed by those provisions and are actually already legal non-conforming as is today. Anything you do today will not change that fact. They are still legal by the state statute, and they can continue to operate as such unless they are vacant for more than 30 months. That answer your question?
With respect to 609 North Garden, and also pointing out the fire, the sprinklers that were installed, given the residential use and the hotel component of it.
Sure. On that particular building is a mixed-use building. There is commercial below, and there's 2 residential living units above, which warrants the separation, fire separation on that. Building codes looking this is just residential. Building codes doesn't look at what the particular zoning code says it is. It just says, are you living there? You're not living there. Is it industrial? Is it commercial? And that's how it determines which codes are applied. Naturally, commercial has a higher risk rate of hazard. And when you put a residential in with that, it requires a longer separation time for somebody that is residentially living in a higher risk to be able to exit the building. That is where the sprinkler requirement came from on there, is for having that mixed use. If there was not a mixed use in that building, then you probably would not have had to sprinkle it.
All right. Any other questions for Mr. Keltner? I know we're still on public comment.
I've got a question.
All right. Actually, Councilmember, go ahead, Councilmember Hubbard.
The list that you gave us, or I got, is that those are people that have not been in compliance all this time?
I apologize. I'm not for sure which list you might be referring to.
Well, I got a list on my phone that people have not been,
Find that list, Councilmember Huffman, and then we'll get through the rest of these public comments, and then we'll call Mr. Keltner back up, okay? Does that sound
That's
okay?
fine.
Does that sound good? All right, so we will move on to Mercedes Robinson. Ms. Robinson, welcome back.
Thank you. I just really appreciate your listening to all of us and your consideration. On a personal note, this has been extremely stressful and just trying to keep my livelihood going. But beyond that, I'm just trying to fight for what's right. I'm kind of a right fighter in that arena. I do agree with it needs to be on a platform. I also agree or think that being on a platform and know that being on a platform, you have to be on the up and up. I have guests that also review me, and I review them. And one time I did have a loose handrail on a front porch that got reviewed. I got turned into the safety and committee concern from Expedia, who owns Verbo. I had to give them the code and show them proof that that handrail, which I was grateful that they let me know was loose, was repaired. I have fire extinguishers. I have gone above and beyond in every way possible, including giving you the amount of toilet paper you might need. So that has nothing to do with safety, but one of my homes is handicap accessible, and I did make sure of that. My daughter was in an accident and in a wheelchair for a brief time, and we had a lot of trouble finding places to stay in Chattanooga that would house her to have to be in a wheelchair. Praise God, she's not in a wheelchair now. But that did open my eyes. I'm an interior designer by trade. Function is huge to me. So this is just something that I wanted to continue to salvage my family homes and a way to do that. So I really, really appreciate it. And like I said, I think it would help the city tremendously if they could understand the use of the platforms and how that self-governs itself. I know you're going to have ghost people doing this, but they are not on a platform. And they're not regulated, and you're never going to be able to regulate them. So the people that are trying to be on a platform up front, which my picture of my home on that platform got screenshot, and that was on the letter I received from the city in August. So you've got people scaling these platforms to find premier hosts. That's a question I have that hasn't been answered, is why are only premier hosts that are paying city taxes? One of my homes alone, City County State, is $75 per night. I have the breakdown if you want that, but that is what they're making off of. Oh, I'm not even paying that. My guests are paying that, and they're willing to pay that because these are very, very distinguished people. I have long-term rented before, and people have completely ruined my home, and I just cannot go back to that. And I also don't want to leave it vacant. So this is really my only option because I'm not going to get rid of a home that is sentimental to me. So I really, really appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson. Next up, Josh. Mr. McGeechee? All right, Josh. Welcome, Mr. McGeechee. You have the floor for 3 minutes.
Thank you. The first thing I want to say is I don't think short-term rentals are anything new. Probably since Columbia has ever existed and people have passed through this city, they have stayed at other people's houses. There's no hotels well, maybe there's a couple hotels here, but there is no major hotels or anything that has even existed here. And so people have stayed at other people's houses. The main reason I've come here to talk is because I actually have a business where I help maintain short-term rentals. I manage 7 properties. One of them is 170 years old. For 170 years, this house has served Columbia. It can serve other people in every weekend. It's a large home. Many family gatherings happen here. And it's very frustrating for me to know that with a few votes, a large part of my company gets taken away because I can't take care of the houses. For people that own short-term rentals, when their clients aren't happy because the breaker popped, because there's a leak, because there's some issue while they're staying there, people call me. They send out the guy who can go fix the problem. My wife, she's going to speak, but she also helps maintain these properties after people stay there. She gets paid to go in and do stuff. I don't think that these short-term rentals are just for the homeowners. There's maids that go in and clean up after every guest every weekend. There's people that go to work on Monday and Tuesday knowing that people stayed in these short-term rentals and they can go to work on Monday and make money. Another thing is for the short-term versus long-term rental, I think it's ridiculous that there's no terms for long-term renting, but short-term renting that you guys are going to just take it away. You can have a horrible neighbor stuck next to you forever, and you guys have no way to address that. But if you have someone come stay for the weekend and maybe they're not the best neighbor, they're there for 2 days and gone. Most Airbnbs are actually empty most of the time. And all they do is help bring people into our city, spend money, and then they sit empty, not doing anything to cause disruption. It's not a family of 10 people living in that home, running the roads, using up Columbia's stuff. We're not using water there. People come in for the weekends or maybe a week. So I do, and I really do, last point is when we have family come and stay, people are becoming very accustomed to staying in short-term rentals and not going to hotels. Sure, if you're traveling down the road, it's great to stay up. But when you're staying for a week visiting somebody and you got 3 kids and a dog, it's nice to be able to go feel like you're in a home. So I really think that you're doing Columbia a disservice by at least not being more accommodating to the short-term rentals. And it does directly affect me and financially if you guys start shutting these down and I don't have a job anymore. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Amici. Next up, David Essinger. Mr. Essinger, if you'd like to speak again, you have the floor for another 3 minutes.
I appreciate it. I will not take my 3
You said
minutes.
you had 2 sentences, right?
Yes, sir.
You have 3 minutes.
Well, okay. We need the stopwatch right there, and it will help everyone
I have
out.
it right there.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going now. Well, I did think I was a little more prepared with my timing, but apparently this time up here goes quicker than I thought. First of all, thank you for letting me speak again. And I want you to know it's not lost on me or probably anyone in the audience that you guys purposefully opened up this Pandora's box. And Department of Development Services did the Google survey and had open meetings and really stirred the pot on purpose to bring this to the surface because there are a lot of stuff going on with short-term rentals. So I do want to acknowledge that. And I do apologize if my comments previously, I hope the reference to being escorted out was totally regarding time and not anything I said.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. I've never been asked or escorted out of any place other than a gym one time, and we won't get into that. So the last 2 sentences I've got to say is basically a repeat. You guys all know, but I do want it to be on the record. Listen to the original recommendation that was presented to you. Listen to the professionals at the Department of Development Services and the Planning Commission and their recommendation to you. And I urge you to follow that original recommendation of the Planning Commission by rejecting the ordinance as written and return this. And I'm looking forward to a win-win from the mayor here in a few minutes. And allow a short-term rental permitting process for CD2 and CD3. That's all I got. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for being here. Ms. Stevenson, Ms. Sue Stevenson, would you like to speak again? All right, come on up. You have the floor for 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mayor. After hearing additional information and further discussion, the Planning Commission voted 6-0 to amend Ordinance Number 4541, short-term rental. The amendment still allows for short-term rentals in CD4, CD4C, CD5, CD5C, as well as 6 other districts. The City Council also voted unanimously to support the Planning Commission's recommendation to amend, effectively excluding zoning districts CD2, Rural Character District CD3L, Neighborhood Large Lot Character District, and CD3, Neighborhood Large Lot Character District, designated as medium density. I ask that you vote tonight to maintain their current non-permitted status for short-term rentals under either principal use or accessory use. It's important in these particular residential districts to preserve the peace and solitude and beauty of these district areas zoned and designated for legacy agricultural operations, large lot residential neighborhoods, semi-rural estates, low-density single-family homes that are currently surrounded by open space, green space, and parkland. Unfortunately, family generations who have lived on these homesteads or in these larger lot subdivisions that were established many years ago, the vast majority of them do not have restrictive covenants. We also need to protect the medium-density single-family neighborhood district. At the previous council meeting, I shared with you a small list of 25 municipalities that surrounded us who have either banned STRs in all districts, in all residential districts, or who have banned all non-owner occupied STRs, or who have limited STRs to non-residential districts, such as commercial, or who have limited STRs to only mixed-use and multifamily districts. None of them allow STRs across the board anywhere in any and all districts. The vice mayor was correct when he said that many municipalities around us are now reversing a big problem they created themselves. Nashville, back in 2018 and finally ended in 2022, eliminated non-owner occupied, limited them to just commercial, multifamily, and mixed-use development. Maybe we can reach a compromise, Mayor. I hope that we can. And I think part of the problem is there's good apples and bad apples. There are some of us who have seen the bad and some of us who have seen the good. But we need our revenue, and the city and the county depend on revenue. We depend on the property owners, not just the Airbnbs, for those that are using platforms, to do really stringent vetting to find out maybe it's true that the problem is the tenant. But please don't say that there's never any problems, because when I look out my door and there's 5 squad cars, or when a home is being converted into a meth lab, there are problems. There are problems. Please.
You have, that your time has expired, Ms. Stevenson. Thank you. All right, next on the list, I have Eric Glass.
Good evening again, council members, mayor, and vice mayor. Thank you for your time. I kind of, I guess to piggyback on Mr. Peden, I don't know that he was questioning anybody's integrity or anything. I think what his point was some of the properties were being marketed on as short-term rentals, whether they're hotels or not. They're being marketed as short-term rentals, which I guess they're legal because they're hotels, but they're not marketed as a hotel on that page. I think that was his point more than anything. And I think maybe that the point is maybe there's, the appearance at least of a conflict of interest there. Maybe I don't, I'm not saying if there is or not, but perhaps there is. And like what she said about the meth labs, I don't think anybody's turning a short-term rental into a meth lab. I think it takes more than a weekend to make a meth lab. I don't know anything about making meth, but I think it takes a little more than a weekend to figure that out and get that set up and running. So I really think the long-term rentals are where that problem's at. And at last week's meeting, it was discussed that there was, 92 STRs that the city knows about. And so it sort of seems like we're having this 6-month discussion now about 92 properties, or maybe a little less than that. So, I don't see how 92 properties are such a huge problem in the city. I don't know how many properties there are in our city, but there's a lot more than 92, obviously. So, and those 92, I assume, are spread out throughout the entire city. So there's probably not too many on top of each other. There's probably no city blocks full of Airbnbs or, short-term rentals or that kind of stuff. So I just agree with most everybody here that says we would like this, some more amicable, fair outcome here, that, perhaps the mayor is going to make an amendment that is going to change all of our thinking, and hopefully that'll be the case. But I just urge everybody to, really understand this whole situation. I mean, there's a lot of benefit. I mean, Ms. Stevenson just said the city relies on revenue. Why are we trying to cut off revenue? By adding more regulations, the ghost operators are not going to come out of being ghost operators by causing more regulation on them. They're just going to continue to hide back there and try to do their thing and not pay any taxes. But if we make a process that's fair and equitable and easy, they might actually come out and comply, and you might make revenue off of them. So that's another plus to the city, in my opinion. So that's all I have. Thank you very much.
All right. And then the final person signed up on the list, Stacy Glass.
Thank you for having me again. I just want to reiterate, I think what several people said. We are creating jobs here in Columbia for local people, for people that are going in and cleaning houses, that are going in and maintaining houses, that are going in and supporting some of our STR operators. If you drive past an STR, they're the best on the street. If you drive past a long-term rental, sometimes they are not the best on the street. So keep those of us that have those STRs keeping our properties looking good. I mean, we do this for the ratings. We do this for the hospitality. We do this because we love this town, and we want others to love this town. And I just looking forward to hearing what your amendment is, but just urge y'all to just reconsider that. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, that completes all of the. Is there anyone that was signed up that I have not called? I believe I've gone through all three sheets. The only one. What's your name? Oh yes, I did miss you, Miss McGeechee. I'm very sorry. Thank you for speaking up. Come on up. You have the floor for 3 minutes. I apologize.
Good evening, everyone. You just talked to my husband a few minutes ago, and he talked more about the income that these Airbnbs can bring to us who assist at them. I am one of the people who would be directly affected by it, not only me, but my boys. I got 2 young boys and an older daughter, and as a stay-at-home mom for 16 years, occupations are very limited for somebody with little experience. I was gifted the chance to be employed by this Airbnb and sustain the extracurricular activities that my boys could be doing for the future, as well as assist my husband in financing food if he ever gets an injury, which actually did happen about 1.5 years ago. Without that extra income, we would have been, I don't know what we'd have done at all. Another thing I can do with my boys is take my boys to work with me during the summertime, so I don't have to pay for a babysitter or childcare. We have no family in town, so I can't go to mom and drop the kids off for the day while I go work. They can come with me. They can assist me sometimes. But also, it gives them the chance to grow into what you just saw here tonight, into these basketball players, football players. It's that income that we need to be able to give our boys these opportunities. And I'm sure I'm not the only one who this is extra income for, because that I think sometimes is more important than income. It's the extras, and it's the backup, it's the emergency funds, because without that, we don't really have much. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Newton. All right, I think that covers everybody unless I missed another name, but it doesn't appear as though I did. Okay, so we are on item 10.4. Again, second consideration of the short-term rental ordinance. First of all, Mr. City Attorney, I guess I want to make sure that I'm clear on legal footing in terms of my ability to participate and not recuse. I have stated on the record that I do own a property that is in the downtown central business district, which is utilized for lofts on the second floor. In my conversations with you on this issue, when the issue was made up by Mr. Peden the first time and the second time, and then the most recent time in the letter, it's been your opinion that there was no conflict for reasons that you stated, and so I just want to again ask for purposes of the record.
That's right, Mayor, and just maybe to provide a little more information for everybody. As city attorney, the city ordinance designates me as the ethics officer for the city to make determinations when asked about ethical issues or conflicts of interest. And the city ordinance would prevent any member of council from sitting and casting a vote on any issue where they or an immediate family member had a financial or pecuniary interest. After we received...
Well, you have been the voice of all night. No, the one with the glasses that just threw his hand up, who you hollered at Miss Stevens, and you hollered just in him. You need to tone it down. You've been rumbling all night. Can you do that for us so we can get this wrapped up? I'd appreciate it.
When we received Mr. Peden's letter, I think on Monday, and he had, I think, shown me that website prior, but when we received that letter on Monday. I looked at it again. I talked to Mr. Keltner about the history of that building on North Garden Street, and we determined that that building was started in its current use prior to 2022, prior to the July 2022 ordinance. That building in that zoning district at the time was zoned CBD, and I would just reiterate Mr. Keltner's comments. The zoning administrator at the time determined that that was a lawful use under the prior zoning law, just like anybody else that is in that district, whether it's Mr. Wolf or whether it's some buildings down here on North Main Street. If you were operating under the old zoning ordinance in a commercial district, all of those uses will continue to be legal. If you were operating prior to this ordinance in any district and you were paying the occupancy tax, you will continue to be legal. So there are a number of properties in the city that will continue to be legal uses regardless of what this council does. So my opinion is that this vote has no impact on the building on North Garden Street or the building over here that Mike Wolf owns. There's one over here on Main Street, and there may be several others. So my opinion is that whatever this vote is has no impact on those buildings, and this vote would not make those any more or less legal because they're under a prior zoning ordinance. So.
And then, Mr. Hubble, would it also be true that if Mr. Peden was in my office to influence me for lobbying on what his opinions were and then delivered a gift, that I should return that gift to Mr. Peden as the ethical officer for the city of Columbia?
Yes, to answer your question, yes. If Mr. Peden gave you a gift to lobby for something, yes, you should return that. I don't know what his intention was in giving the gift. May or may not have been lobbying you, but out of an abundance of caution, I would return the gift regardless of the intention.
All right. Thank you, Mr. City Attorney. Okay. So we're back on item 10.4. I have a motion that I would be glad to make, but also before I get into a motion, I certainly want to have council's opportunity to provide any thoughts or input. It could be that I could provide a motion, and if it were to get a second, then we could then be in a discussion period. If council would like for me to do that, I'm happy to do that. And I'm not, Councilmember Huffman.
The way we're going to vote tonight is if I get this, understand this right, and three of us have not been in all this discussion over all these months of this. I haven't been. I know Ms. Seekers hadn't, and I know Mr. McGurvey hadn't. But if you have already been operating a short-term rental or whatever, and you've got a license to do that, you're still going to be able to do that. Is that not true? It don't make any difference what district you're in, or CDL or CD2 or whatever. If you've got a license, you're still going to be able to do that.
That's going to be what my motion is going to be.
Is that not true? Is that not the way it's going to be?
Yes, to answer your question, yes. If you currently have a license, you will remain legal. But there's maybe a little more to it than that, because there are very few people that have a license right now. If you were operating your short-term rental prior to July of 2022 and you were remitting use and occupancy tax prior for the 6 of the 12 months immediately preceding July of 2022, state law says you get to continue operating. If you have operated a short-term rental prior to 2022 and paid occupancy tax for 6 of 12 months, nothing that this council does tonight has any impact on those short-term rentals. They will continue to be legal. If you're operating now and you have a license under the city, you'll continue to be legal. Is that
if the motion is made in that manner?
These 30-something people that I've got right here, that somebody, I don't know who sent it to me, that's in violation of short-term rentals.
Okay, so the 30-something people, if they're in violation and if they started, and sometimes the city may not know that, it's incumbent at some point for people who are operating prior to 2022 to show that they were paying those use taxes, so the city knows. But the people who were sent violation letters, or who may not have been sent a violation letter, if they're operating now and they started operating after 2022, those people are not automatically grandfathered under state law There has been discussion amongst this council at a previous meeting, I think, about whether to grandfather those people. So that's, I think, the motion the mayor asked me if such a motion was made. That's the motion that this council would have to make if this council wanted the people on that list who have been operating their short-term rental or started operating it after July of 2022. This council would have to say that those people get to continue to operate.
Councilor McKelvey?
So my question is, and I was here in November to hear the city come out and talk about short-term rentals. As a candidate, I was here and listening to everybody speak. I want to put that clarification. But I do want to ask, so if someone has a short-term rental after 2022 and has been paying hotel motel tax for the last 6 to 12 months, should they not be included also? Because I would think there would be more litigation coming if they weren't included.
So the question of should they be included is certainly something
could they be included?
That this council would have to decide. Could they be included? Yes, they could be included by a motion by this council to allow those people to continue operating that have been operating and paying that hotel, motel, or occupancy tax. And yes, your rationale for that could be appropriate because there could be a legal challenge to those folks who are paying the occupancy tax, who we've been accepting, albeit maybe not knowing which unit they're coming from. The city has no way of knowing that. But could that be a legal challenge the city faces is somebody saying, you've said I can no longer operate. However, I've been paying you hotel motel tax for 2 years. Therefore, I think you were complicit in allowing me to operate an illegal use. Therefore, I should be allowed to continue that.
So with that being said, can we? So say we have 100. Just say we have 100 short-term rentals in Character District 3 and 2 and in 4 and 5, and they can prove that they've been paying short-term rentals, paying a hotel motel tax for the last 6 to 12 months. Can we not go ahead and include them and then stop it there? Have no more short-term rentals in these character districts except for the ones that are being said tonight in this ordinance in CD 4, 5, those districts. Can we not limit it to the outside of those 2 districts and just see where we are in the next couple of years? I feel like this is the best way to handle this and not face some type of legality.
Yes, you can do that. And my suggestion, if you want to do that, is that we track or use similar language that is in the state law that would grandfather the people prior to 2022. We can adopt a majority of that language, include it in this ordinance so that the people who are operating now can continue to operate based on those same parameters that they've been operating. They've been paying hotel motel tax for 6 of the previous 12 months. If they've been doing that, you can still require them to get a permit. As part of that permitting process, they would need to show that they were, my suggestion anyway, they would show that they were paying that hotel motel tax. Then they could be granted a short-term rental permit. That I would suggest that we use similar language to the state law that says that's valid until the property sold, transferred, ceases being used as a short-term rental for 30 months, or is in violation of local ordinance 3 or more times. And that's the exact same language that applies to people who are prior to 2022. It's not grandfathered forever. It's grandfathered as long as the current owner owns it, as long as it's continued to be used as a short-term rental, and as long as there are not 3 or more violations of city ordinance.
That's what I'm for.
All right.
That's what I want.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
Everybody pretty much knows how I feel about the short-term rentals. It's not what we're doing now. It's what it creates 5, 10, 20 years down. I like what Mr. McKelvey said, but I've heard it's been said multiple times. Why don't we keep what the Planning Commission did to us? Why don't we keep it? Well, the reason why we didn't keep it with our legal counsel, they did not like the option of the BZA having the determining factor if it was short-term rentals. That's why we sent it back. BZA was the one that was going to decide about the, was that correct?
That's right. I'll follow, and I should have done that already. I'll fall on the sword on that one to explain that I was not comfortable with the BZA making a decision on short-term rental with as many as I expected there to be, and consulted with my predecessor who had been involved in this. I've been in this role since January. He agreed with me on that, and the issue we felt with the BZA determining whether you could or could not operate a short-term rental was that it was putting something in front of the BZA that if they approve one short-term rental in CD2 and didn't approve the next one in CD2 or CD3, then you would have similarly situated people that could possibly be treated differently, which could open the city up to more litigation. So that was on advice of council to take it out of the realm of the BZA and decide where you want to allow it and allow it in zones or don't allow it in zones, as opposed to a patchwork determination of we're going to let you do it, but your neighbor comes back 2 months to the BZA and 10 people show up and object to that, and the BZA doesn't grant that one. Now you've got 2 people being treated completely differently, which would, in my opinion, open up a whole host of litigation to the city, much more than doing it any other way.
And that's why I sent it back to BZ. That's why I sent it back to Planning Commission, because I've been on that board. I'm back on that board, and I respect the work they do. And they spend tireless. We had a 2.5-hour meeting last night, working through problems to recommend to us. Well, that's why I sent it back to them, and so that's why we could hear what they wanted to say. I like what Mr. McKelvey said. Let's wait and see what the mayor says, and hopefully it'll be what we all might like.
All right. Thank you, Vice Mayor. And yes, I want to go back to that last point on the I think that an unintended consequence of what the Planning Commission approved originally was that it was not only empowering the BZA, but actually the better word was really exposing the BZA to having to make decisions that could be seen as arbitrary and capricious and get the city into legal liabilities. And the BZA board members, it's not necessarily they signed up for it to become the short-term rental governing body and defining what is or what is not. I'm going to say a couple things just to make sure that I'm synthesizing this correctly. And Mr. Keltner, if you'll just follow, and if I'm saying something wrong, please shake your head to tell me. Right now in the city of Columbia, we only allow short-term rentals in CD4, CD4C, and CD5, and that's if and only if those units are also owner occupied, correct? Yes. What the Planning Commission did and what is before us this evening in the Planning Commission's latest action is modify such that short-term rentals would only be allowed in CD4, CD4C, and CD5, so allowing those to now have that designation. But what was important about that designation is that it lost the owner occupancy requirement. And so there are no owner occupancy requirements for CD4, CD4C, and CD5, which is what we have in front of us this evening. Am I right so far? Short-term rentals would not be allowed in any other districts as currently before us, including CD2, CD3L, or CD3, no matter what, for any reason, unless or until this council or future councils makes modifications to that, correct? We do have some short-term rentals that we can have a pretty accurate number that have been operating in CD2, CD3L, or CD3 prior to our zoning ordinance amendment in 2022, in which short-term rentals were not regulated. Is that correct? In which they were regulated if they qualified under the short-term rental in that district, even prior to 2022. Okay. And The zoning ordinance in 2022 going forward got more specific and began regulating, specifically relegating to CD4, CD4C, and CD5 if owner occupied. So that's sort of where we are and where we've been. I mean, I've been all over on this issue. Number one, I mean, you may think it's silly, but I mean, I'm glad that we have this problem, that we have a community that has a demand for short-term rental needs, because that to me tells me that we have a community that has people that want to come here, a community that has vibrancy, and a community that we have people that are earning incomes off of these short-term rentals. I am cognizant that most of the people that we have heard from on this issue over the course of countless meetings have been in favor of short-term rentals. I'm also cognizant that most of those people themselves currently operate short-term rentals. Whether or not it's conforming or not, it doesn't matter. I'm just pointing out that there are a lot of people that are not here in this meeting that probably would have different opinions if they were here regarding whether or not they wanted a short-term rental to be located next to them. And it may be information that's not based upon fact other than assumption, but my point on saying that is that what the happy medium is that I think needs to be found, needs to recognize is that we also have a group of people out there that would not necessarily agree. And so how can we find some common ground? How can we make our first start? Honestly, initially, I wanted to go even further than what I'm going to suggest tonight. I've thought about, do we want to maybe look at the downtown district and create a 1 mile radius around the downtown district that regardless of what designation they fall in, because it's in the downtown district and we want to encourage tourism, and particularly in the downtown district, and that maybe even incorporate some of our arts district. That could be something we could look at to the future. We could also potentially look to the future of adding CD2, CD3L, and CD3 for owner occupied. But for purposes of this evening, my proposal is that we amend the ordinance such that any property used as a short-term rental prior to April 10, 2025, which is this evening, where the owner remitted hotel, motel taxes at least 6 months within the last 12-month period immediately preceding April 10th, 2025, shall be allowed to continue use as a short-term rental unit until the property is sold, transferred, ceases being used as a short-term rental unit for a period of 30 continuous months, or has been in violation of a generally applicable local law 3 or more times as provided by state law, which they would otherwise lose their grandfathering in status, which is essentially what this amendment is doing. The only thing this amendment is doing is, in addition to allowing short-term rentals without the owner occupancy requirement in CD4, CD4C, and CD5, this is saying if you are operating in any district, CD2, CD3L, CD3, preceding this date and can show a history of paying a 6 months worth of hotel taxes within the last 12 months, then you would be grandfathered in and would not have to cease to exist, so long as you follow the city's permitting requirements, in which you would have to provide that evidence to the city and come get your permit prior to the end of the calendar year, December 31, 2025. So that is my motion.
Can I make an amendment to that? Or we need to.
How does that work?
You can make one amendment to an amendment.
Okay.
So so it's possible. You may need to see if there's a second to your motion first, and then
Okay.
you've got an amendment, and then Mr. McKelvey can ask to amend the amendment.
All right. So I've made the motion. Is there a second to my motion?
I'll second your motion. Go
Okay.
ahead.
It's been seconded, and Mr. McKelvey now for discussion.
Can we?
Oh,
go ahead.
And I'm sorry, you can ask him if he's agreeable to your amendment, and then you can do it in one.
Yeah. What you got, Mr. Councilman?
I'm agreeable to your amendment, but I would like to limit the amount. What's out there now in CD2 and CD3 and 3L, there's no more. You limit it.
Yeah, that is exactly what this is doing. Yeah, this is saying,
I'm just making sure that was in there.
Yeah, if you're operating a short-term rental in CD2, CD3L, CD3, and you can show that you've been operating, then you're grandfathered in. I think we were obligated to grandfather in those people prior to 2022.
Yes.
State law would have mandated that. What we did not have to do, which I think we should, is grandfather in the people that were operating after 2022. And so this is capturing a large number of short-term rentals that are currently being utilized. Perhaps it is limiting those who are in the room that wanted to buy more residential units in CD2, 3L, or 3. But it is allowing those that are in place now to continue to be in place, subject to your requirements to get your permit and application in prior to the end of the calendar year. That's my motion. It's been properly seconded.
say
Under
something?
discussion, Councilmember Huffman.
I know this is not going to suit everybody, but this council's got to start somewhere. And we can always amend what we're doing tonight. But if we start on top, you can't bring it back. We start on the bottom, you can't add. So that's all I've got to say.
If I could interrupt, Paul, did you have another point you wanted to make?
We've got to go back to 10.2. If we pass 10.4, is that what the point is? Or is it a different point?
Yes, sir. I just wanted to remind the commission there was a lot of discussion at study session. Some of those discussion points was dealing with the accessory use table and the conditional use permit process still being with the accessory use table. That's actually in the ordinance 4541 that you're currently on. I hate to muddle up your ordinance, your motion anymore, but
I guess that's my first amendment, and then I have a second amendment. So that motion to amend has been seconded. So now do I make another motion, or do we vote on?
Vote on the one you've got, and then we can address the accessory use via another amendment.
All right, so there's been a motion and proper second on the motion to amend what we have before us relative to the grandfathering in, as I'll call it. It's been properly seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll take the vote on that first motion to amend.
Ms. Hardison?
Aye.
Mr. Huffman? Aye. Mr. Marshall?
Aye.
Mr. McKelvey?
Aye.
Ms. Seegers?
Aye.
Vice Mayor McBroom?
Aye.
Mayor Mulder?
Aye, that motion to amend is approved. The second motion to amend, and this is doing some cleanup, I believe, but I would move to amend ordinance 4541 by removing subsection 1C, removing the last sentence of subsection 1E, removing the words "or failure to adhere to conditions of approval imposed by the Board of Zoning Appeals" in subsection 8. Again, as we discussed, we're taking the Board of Zoning Appeals out of that process. And by replacing conditional use in the accessory use table under CD2, CD3L, CD3, SDMHP, PUD-R, and PUD-MU with not permitted, and by replacing limited use in the accessory use under SDINT and SDHI with not permitted, so that the accessory use table will match the principal use table. Mr. Keltner, did I articulate that okay? All right, so that's my motion. Again, that's more of a cleanup motion to make sure that our tables align with what we're doing here on this item.
Second.
It's been seconded. Any discussion on that cleanup item? Hearing none, we'll take a motion, or we'll take a vote on the second motion to amend item 10.4.
Ms. Hardison?
Aye.
Mr. Huffman?
Aye.
Marshall?
Aye.
Mr. McKelvey?
Aye.
Ms. Seegers?
Aye.
Mayor McBroom?
Aye.
Mayor Mulder?
Aye, that item is approved that amendment is approved. So now we're back on 10.4 as amended two times for final passage on final consideration of item 10.4, and I will make that motion to approve.
Second.
Been seconded by Councilmember McKelvey. Any further discussion on that? Hearing none, Mr. Jablonski.
Hardison?
Aye.
Huffman?
Aye.
Marshall?
Aye.
Mr. McKelvey?
Aye.
Ms. Seegers?
Aye.
Vice Mayor McBroom?
Aye.
Mayor Mulder?
Aye, item 10.4 is approved as amended. We'll go back to 10.2, second consideration, ordinance 4537, ordinance amending development service filing fee for the city of Columbia. I'll make a motion to approve that on second consideration.
Mayor, that's the one that I mentioned there may need to be an amendment to. And
should we defer it to the next month's meeting? Amendment. Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
No, I can explain that.
Yes, if you could, Mr. City Attorney.
If you would. That ordinance changes planning fees, and one of the things in there changing those fees is relative to short-term rentals. When these fees were first put in place, that's when it was looking like, or the proposal was for CD2, 3, and 3L to go to the BZA. There was going to be a $300 permit fee for the BZA if you went to BZA on a conditional use. There's a $150 permit fee if it was an administrative approval. Now we're just going to have administrative approvals, so it would just be a $150 fee. The $300 fee would go away. There is also 10 typically, whether it's a building permit or any type of fee after the fact, if you start a building and you get a permit after you've started it, or if you start a short-term rental and then you come get permitted, those fees are typically double. So there's a footnote on the $300 fee to double an after-the-fact permit, and that footnote should be on the $150 fee. Councilwoman Hardison actually brought that to my attention earlier today, that $300 fee should not be there. So the $300 needs to come off. And
So is Councilman Hardison, since you brought it to the attention of the city attorney, would you like to make that motion?
Yes, I would. Thank you.
All right, so the motion is that we remove the $300 fee under the BZA for conditional use application. Is that right, Mr. Hubble?
say that again, I'm sorry.
The motion by Ms. Hardison is that we are removing the $300 fee relative to the BZA and the approval of short-term rentals who they no longer have any jurisdiction over.
And moving that footnote 8 to the short-term rental permit administrative.
And moving that footnote up to the short-term rental administrative. Is that your motion, Ms. Hardison?
Yes, do I need to read all that? I can if I need to.
Might as well go ahead.
Okay,
Give
okay.
it your best shot.
Okay. I would like to move to amend ordinance 4537 Exhibit A by removing the short-term permit fee of $300 and by moving footnote 8 to short-term rental permit administrative. And in footnote 8, changing May the 13th, 2024 to June 10th, 2025.
I'll second that motion. Any discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Jablonski.
Ms. Hardison.
Aye.
Mr. Huffman. Mr. Marshall. Melvin. Ms. Seegers. Vice Mayor McBroom. Mayor Moore.
Aye, motion is approved as amended. All right, any other business for the good of council? Any council member wish to be heard? Anything to point out?
Mayor, just one thing, if I may, and I know I've talked more than you might want your city attorney to talk in a meeting, but I'm going to address. I feel like I need to come back to this. We talked about me being the ethics officer, and one thing that I will say to my colleagues, Mr. Peden and Mr. Mulder in this room, and everybody else, is that there's one thing I know about both of them, and that's that they are both men of integrity and they're both good lawyers. And I don't know that Mr. Peden intended any slight against Mr. Mulder. I suspect he was just representing his client to the best of his ability, like he always does. And I don't think that Mr. Mulder intended any slight towards Mr. Peden regarding that gift. I don't think Mr. Mulder's done anything unethical, obviously, with regard to his building. And I don't think Mr. Peden intended to lobby favor in presenting a gift to Mr. Mulder. You still probably need to give it back to be safe. But they're both men of integrity that wouldn't do anything unethical regardless. And I just wanted to reiterate that for the benefit of everybody in the room.
All right, thank you, Mr. City Attorney. Any other questions or anything from council? Now, I'll just point out that we have the annual Easter egg hunt Saturday, April 12th. Woodland Park Rotary Shelter, Mac Reagan and team will be ready to rock and roll for what will be a fun event. If you haven't been by the Aquatics and Recreation Center lately, you should. It is looking great out there. Trails are being made and people are getting there, and the numbers are awesome. Community Planning Day. Sunday, April 13th at Fairview Park at 2 p.m. The Springtime Jamboree, May 3rd at the Farmers Market. There's Touch a Truck on Saturday, May 3rd. Also, there's Community Cleanup Day on Saturday morning at 8 a.m. We're going to meet in the county parking lot, and you're welcome to join. Any other member of council wish to be heard?
Jeff
Dwyer. Brag on Jeff Dwyer. Is Dwyer even here? Why are we bragging on Dwyer? He's out in the hallway. All right, we're going to brag on Dwyer for all of his good work relative
Hey, Jeff,
to
can you come back in?
Day.
About the debris removal.
Oh, yeah. The vice mayor wants to brag on Jeff Dwyer, so I'll let you handle the brag.
I'm sorry. I want to thank Jeff Dwyer and his people, because when the tornado came through 2 Sundays ago, it went right over my house, and everybody was outside looking at the damage, and his people got on the job. Old Sunnyside Lane was blocked on both ends. They got it open. They've worked tirelessly so far. It seems like the mounds of trees are getting bigger, but y'all are knocking them down, and I appreciate the work your guys are doing. Thank you.
Very good job, Jeff, and very good job too. Well, I'll get over. There we go. Also would like to thank our public safety partners and first responders for a successful Mule Day and all of the good work that went into that, from tourism marketing. It's probably the best weekend of the year for Columbia in a lot of ways. So thanks for that. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Mr. Jablonski. Aye, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.